Hello and welcome to this PSP video on literacy at Deer Park. My name is Lauren Waters and I'm the Director of Learning for English and the Literacy Coordinator here. In this video today, we're going to look at what is literacy, why is it important, what we're doing at Deer Park to help promote literacy, and what you can do at home to help your child improve their literacy. So first of all, looking at what is literacy and why it's so important. So I think most people think they have an understanding of literacy, it's your reading and writing, but a lot of people forget about the speaking and the listening side of literacy, and that those are being key parts of it as well. Your speaking and the interactions that we have as teachers and as adults with children really helps promote literacy in our verbal communication, but it also helps promote reading skills as well. So why is it important? I think we all know that literacy is really important, but here are just a couple of key things. So research shows that young people entering the workplace often lack the speaking and listening skills, again highlighting the importance of it, and 70% of employers rate literacy skills as one of the 3 most important considerations. So there's a lot of talk about what do we teach in schools, how we're preparing them for the future, and literacy is one of those really key things. If we get them speaking, writing, listening, and as well as reading, then we're preparing them for life after education. One of the other things that's really important is the fact that literacy levels and higher levels of literacy really promote a better mental well-being and mental health, which is obviously something that we want to promote for all of our children, all of our young people at this period in their lives and moving forward. And thinking about particularly this year group who have been affected by the pandemic and that time that they've had where they weren't in school, we've seen that there are lower levels of literacy with some secondary students, this is a headline, secondary students with a reading age of 6. So we're looking to really fill those gaps and make sure that they're catching up, as well as ensuring that they're prepared for the future and that they're able to deal with their mental health and have a healthy mental health. So what are the things we're doing at Deer Park already to help your children with their literacy? So one of the things that we're doing is we're reading with them as much as we possibly can. So in English, we read at the start of every lesson. With me, they're reading this book called Pig Heart Boy. With Mr. Smith, they're reading Wonder. And that is the students being read to by the adult, and they're following along. They also, once a fortnight, have a lesson in the LRC where they're read short stories, which are diverse literacy stories. Again, that's something that came up in the news recently about the diversity in the books that students in secondary school are being exposed to, and helping them gain a broader understanding of life beyond Hedge End, beyond Hampshire, and across the world as well. We also have a book club, which some of our students are attending with Mrs. McDonald, where they're currently reading Noughts and Crosses. So there's lots of different opportunities, and the LRC is always open to them. We've got a core group of students who love going to the LRC, reading in their break and lunch times, before school, after school, and we also have different reading interventions. So we've got a massive push on reading and showing that in English, in their lessons as well. So all of the teachers, we had a discussion that reading is a key part of every single lesson that they've got throughout the school day. As well as that, in tutor times, we're really promoting their independence reading. So hopefully everyone has seen their reading miles trackers before. So with our students, every student was given a reading miles tracker, and every 30 minutes that they read for, they fill in one of these circles to complete a journey. And once they've completed one journey, this one, so for the bronze reading miles tracker, it goes across the South Downs Way. So from Winchester to Exton, they get a gold E-ref. It's getting very competitive between the tutors who are seeing who can get all of those E-refs in to win Bucky the dear each week for the highest tutor group. So if a student independently completes this, then they get their certificate in assembly, and Mr. Smith announced them as being a Deer Park legend. So we've been really pushing independent reading outside of school. From bronze, we've got bronze walk across the South Downs Way. Silver is the journey is cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats, then interrailing across Europe, flying across the world, travelling through space, and we've got some students that have read nearly 200 hours over the course of this academic year already. So this is something that we're really pushing during tutor times. On a Monday morning, we check how the students have been getting on, how much reading they've done across the course of the week. But if you could push that with students at home, we've got lots of keen readers who just forget to fill in their tracker, and they could be getting rewarded and certificates for the work that they're putting in. But this is what we are promoting during our Monday morning tutor times. As well as that, each week we have a word of the week. Again, in Monday morning tutor times, they're given a conundrum, and this is one of the academic words that they're likely to come across during their education and their 5-year journey here. So this was one of our words previously, and we were looking at different ways that factor is used. So obviously in maths, it's used really differently to how it's used in humanities and different subjects. So we're discussing those. Your child should have this written down in the bottom of their planner, just where you sign each week. So it would be a good conversation to be able to test them. Do you remember what your word of the week is for this week? How have you used it? What does it mean? And thinking about some of those key questions. So asking your child at home what their word of the week is when you check their planner each week could be another way to engage them from the start of the week, where we're doing it at Deer Park, to the end of the week when you're signing their planners. Another thing that we have signed all of our students up for is this website called Spell Zone to help with their spelling. So each child was given an individual word test to check where their difficulties lie, and we let them log on once a fortnight again during their LRC lessons. But this is something they have full access to at home, so they can be practicing using games, different spelling games as word searches. They can compete with each other, and this is a really good way to encourage them, especially with some of our spellers that perhaps struggle, in practicing in a fun and accessible way at home. So aside from the things that I've mentioned in encouraging what we've been doing in school, there's a couple of things that you could also be doing at home to help further promote literacy. So one of them, as I said, is encouraging reading. And one of the main things, I think, is the distractions that we have in life. So perhaps having some set time where they put their phone on airplane mode and do sit down and read. And obviously a really good way of doing this is by modelling reading as well, because our children do imitate what we're doing. So if we're looking at our phones all the time, they're going to be doing that as well. An easy thing to do is to set targets. All of our children seem very competitive. So setting targets of like, okay, by the end of the week, can you fill in 5 half-an-hour circles on your reading miles tracker could be a way to encourage them to get their reading, so they're getting rewarded at home as well as in school. One of the things that we often get is that we have reluctant readers. So just a couple of ideas to help with those. So if you have a child who says that they don't like books and things, but they're really into gaming, you'll find that a lot of games now have accompanying books. So for example, we've got some students who really like Minecraft, and you can find different books about those. So that could be a way to get them in. Similarly, we have lots of film buffs who really enjoy films and things. So if there's a film that they liked, then perhaps looking to see, okay, have you tried reading the book version as well? Lots of football fans. I've told some of my tutor group about the Francis Benali autobiography. So just keeping an eye out for different celebrities. It doesn't have to be non-fiction to get them engaged in reading. Stereotypically, a lot of boys like reading non-fiction a bit more, especially during their teenage years. So if it's signing them up to National Geographic and they're getting the magazine, that still counts as reading. It doesn't have to be a storybook. I've put here as well, Ant Middleton, a mission resilience. So it could be a self-help book, it could be a celebrity that they like watching, something to do with a future career that they're into. So if they wanted to go into the military or something, then Ant Middleton's obviously a really aspirational person. On the flip side, we've got our students who read lots and then they don't know what to read. So, for example, they'd read all of the Hunger Games trilogy and the prequel, and they loved it, but now they don't know what to read next. So we've got this website, whatshouldireadnext.com, which is really useful. And sorry, it's not loading. So whatshouldireadnext.com is just a really easy way for students. They just have to type in what they've been reading, and it comes up with suggestions of other ones that they think they might like. One of the other key things is for our reluctant readers is the role of audiobooks. We have lots of students who say they don't like reading, but they do like stories. And I've particularly noticed that in English, they really enjoy having the story read to them. But that's not always possible at home. There's lots of research from the National Literacy Trust, that engagement with audiobooks can benefit children's reading skills and enjoyment, as well as their mental well-being and emotional intelligence. So that brings us back to what I was saying about at the beginning, the importance of literacy in helping both well-being and also with the academic side, and obviously with future careers. So one thing that I would promote is BorrowBox, which is a free Hampshire Library online app that they can get audiobooks absolutely free. They have them for 2 weeks and then you can just renew it. So this is a really easy, free way for them to start listening to more audiobooks. And obviously then that becomes more accessible. So if you're on a long car journey, encouraging that instead of just scrolling through TikTok or one of those other apps and websites that they like. So thinking about the role of audiobooks, that really helps promote literacy in our young students. As well as that, we've got a couple of other things. So just putting the subtitles on when you're watching TV actually helps improve children's literacy rate. So something Stephen Fry's been promoting massively. It's called Turn on the Subtitles campaigns. So something that you can do, really simple. They've got a show on Netflix, just put on the subtitles. Our eyes automatically go to read the words, but that does help promote. It means that they are reading a bit more. I'm sure lots of people have started on Wordle. The students love it when they're asked to do it in school. So sometimes in tutor times or in English lessons, we might be like, okay, who can get today's Wordle? And again, that's a really easy competitive way. My family sometimes all sit around, all go at the same time and see who can get the word first with Wordle, and getting them to think about different words where they go. So highly recommend that. For our readers who perhaps they're keen readers, but their vocabulary is not always as good as you perhaps would like it to be, I'd really recommend getting a vocabulary bookmark. It's a really simple thing to do. So just as they're reading, having a bookmark where they can write down new words that they have seen as they're reading. They may not want to stop reading at that moment, but then they've got their list of words that perhaps at the end of the week they can go and look up the different words, what they mean, see if they can use them differently. So it just makes sure that their reading isn't too disjointed for them, but they're still developing their understanding and gaining new words to add to their vocabulary. Another key word I've already said about using testing them on their word of the week, but something that you could do is ban particular words within the house. So for example, the word nice or the word fine, it's okay, and those sort of bland words, particularly with as they start getting into teenagers and are more reluctant to share. Think about, okay, we're not going to say the word nice. What do you actually mean? Or it's not just okay. Thinking about banning those words, so they're actually having to engage in the conversation with you and say, think about, what do they mean by okay? What do they mean by it was fine? And that is really helpful as well, into getting them to think about their word choices and what they really mean instead of these empty words. A final thing then, this is something that a slide that we looked at in English lessons, is seeing where English is used around you. So these are all different adverts and they have different techniques within them. So thinking about if you pass a bus stop and it has like the Creamed advert, how will you eat yours? Asking students, what do they notice about it? How is it trying to engage you? So it can just be as simple as walking past, seeing an advert on the back of a newspaper or the back of a bus stop, and getting them to see if they notice different things. So for example, with Big Beefy Bliss, the fact that it's got alliteration, that it's a rhetorical question and they don't need with how will you eat yours, and getting them to identify different techniques. All students have learnt this, so it will be interesting maybe for them to notice how advertising works and uses some of these different techniques. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully it's given you a couple of easy ideas of what you can do to help promote literacy at home, and what we are doing at Deer Park. But if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to email, and I will get back to you. Many thanks. Bye-bye.